So I realize a lot has been thrown at you, and I just wanted to clarify a few things that we probably should have clarified up front. So REMP has, I can't even remember now, about half of the 15 partners we worked with under REMP. And throughout the course of REMP, the team was actually so successful in demonstrating this model that USAID India decided to help scale it under their PACE-D program. And so I think you've heard references to PACE-D. I thought we were going to mention it at the end, but since you've heard references, this is something I was hoping would happen at the end of REMP, but it actually happened partway through. So the 15 are the combined knowledge pool from both USAID programs. So that's what PACE-D is. And I think also I just want to clarify a little bit for those of us who aren't MFIs. I've been learning this now throughout the past 5 years. Part of what made this so unique and so challenging was that most of the MFIs, you can tell the MFIs we work with range from quite small and quite isolated to very large, right? So they had a lot of different institutional cultures. They work in different regions of India. But most of them, their typical lending was for income generation, right? It's for productive purposes. So to come in with this energy lending program, typically with small products, right, that were for personal use, was something really different. So dealing with the product side and then they all offer different things. But I think just to help clarify for those people who haven't been watching this really closely, it might help provide a little bit of context for why you needed all of this education and all of this capacity building, because it really was a new area for most of them. So now now that I've said my 2 bits, and now you know what PACE-D is, I'm going to hand it back to Chika.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll leave it. And another small announcement is that in the folder in front of you, on the left side, you will find the evaluation or feedback form. So it'll be, we really appreciate if you can take time to fill this out and give your comments for today's workshop. Okay. So finally, we are starting. And let me first introduce our panelists and colleagues, because this session is, we don't have representatives from our partner organizations, but we have our team members who have been spending a lot of time with partners on the ground, understanding partners as well as their customers, end users, and agents. So I hope you will get to hear a lot of real stories and insights. And the first I want to introduce Yara, who is our project coordinator in Haiti. As Pam mentioned in the morning, we really wanted to have Soji Express, our partner in Haiti, to come, but because of the hurricane, they couldn't make it. But I don't think it doesn't mean that you're missing the critical information, because Yara knows as much as they do in terms of the agent models. And next is Shrey. He's based in India, and he works with multiple partners over there, and he's the specialist in agent models, so we'll hear from him later. And Guadalupe is our market research specialist, so she's been running the focus group research, qualitative research, with many of our partners, including those who have agent networks. So she'll give the insights that are coming up from coming from multiple researches with several of our partners over the years. Okay, so first I wanted to start with describing what we mean by agents in this discussion as well as under REMP, because when I mean agents is the term agent can be very confusing because everyone has a different image or different definition of who they are. And when we talk about agents here, in this context, they are sales agent, and well, they're sales agents, meaning sales force of our REMP partner institution. They are the face of the institution in a sense to the end users. However, they are not necessarily employees. Well, they are not employees. They're individuals from the community where end users live. So they're the peer to the customers. They often have experience in selling already. I mean, some of them start new, but most of them have some experience in selling. Sometimes in India, especially in microfinance context, we also see many group leaders in the microfinance lending group. They become very good sellers because of their communication skills or leadership skills. Agents, because they are not employees, they don't earn fixed salary, but they earn a commission or they earn a margin depending on the number of pieces that they sell. Right. So that's the picture that I wanted to draw in everyone's head to start with. Okay. And in REMP, we ended up having close to 2,000 sales agents across India and Haiti. Collectively, they've sold over 64,000 clean energy products, mostly solar lights. And that accounts about like 20% of what REMP achieved. So it's not majority, but it's a significant portion of the program. And about 1/3 is women, and most of them get some kind of financing to do this business. And before I hand over to our colleagues, my colleagues, I wanted to go through 3 basic financing models so that, as the basis of our discussion. Because since REMP is more about financing models, we were trying different end user financing, but with agents, we were also trying to find out what kind of financing models would work for agents to sell more. So the first model is quite simple. Institution will give a loan to agents, and agents will use that loan to sell to customers. And after selling, agent will collect money and pay back to the institution. And here, I want to point out 2 aspects. One is when this loan is disbursed, it can be either in the form of cash or in the form of products. In reality, what we saw so far is the loan is dispersed in the form of products, because that assures the institution that these agents will be selling the product that the institution has specified. And then, since this is a loan, agents will pay back to the institution in a fixed schedule. So it can be weekly or it can be bi-weekly, monthly, but as per the institution's choice. But so it doesn't really matter whether agents make a sales or not. So even if the agent didn't sell this week, she still has to pay back a fixed amount. So that's the essence of the loan model. Next model is trade finance. So again, institution, in this model, an institution will sell the product to agents, and agents will sell to customers and get the payment, and agents will pay back to institution. The main characteristics of this model is that agents have a certain time period that before she make a payment to the institution. So for example, she gets the product today, but she doesn't have to pay anything. And in the meantime, she goes out and find a customer and make a sales, get the payment, and after 30 days or 45 days, 60 days, she will come back and pay back. But again, in this case, regardless of whether she finds customers or she makes all the sales, she has to pay back after a certain date. The last model, the third model, is consignment, which is very similar to trade financing. The only difference, or the only major difference, is that in this case, if agents don't sell the product, let's say she got 10 products but sold only 5, and she thinks that, okay, I cannot sell the remaining 5. In that case, she can return the product without any cost. Yeah, and okay. Yes, so these are the basic 3 models that we had as a concept. Yeah.
Just clarify, so these agents are associated with the MFI or with the product retailer?
Yes, so these are associated, well, in the case of India, that Shrey will talk, they were associated with MFI. And in the case of Haiti, they were associated with Soji Express, which is money transfer network. So to answer to your question, they were not associated with product company. Yeah. Okay. So yes, so these are the still, conceptual model, the basic model, and you will hear in reality what happened to this model from Yara and Shrey. Okay. So I think it's a good timing to hand over to Yara. So Yara, can you give an overview of Soji Express and maybe some context of Haiti?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So Soji Express is not an MFI. Soji Express is a money transfer company. So it's a little bit different from what we heard earlier today. So to give you a little bit of context first, so Soji Express is our partner in Haiti. Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the world and has a very low level of people have I think it's more than 75% of the population do not have access to grid electricity. And when they do, they only get a couple of hours per day. So majority of Haitians use kerosene lanterns and candles. Soji Express is a money transfer organization. So their main business is remittances. And so they have around 60 flagship stores across the country. So they already have their own distribution network. And so they've been selling, when we started working with them a couple of years ago now, probably 6, 7 years ago, they started selling solar lamps and small solar home systems a cash sale basis through their stores. So we were only looking at this time at the stores. So people who would enter the stores to get their remittances would look at the products, and obviously there was a big awareness campaign and education campaign to let people know about the lamps and their features and everything. So slowly later after that, we realized that in Haiti, if some of you have been to Haiti, a lot of the everything is happening in the streets, basically. Not a lot of people enter a store, or they do enter in the case of Search Express to get their remittances. So there was a lot of demand and a lot of potential, like opportunities in the streets, in the urban areas, and then of course in the rural areas. So we started looking at agent. And the good thing with Search Express is they've also had a small agent network that they were selling minutes for Search Express in the streets. So it was already a network that we were looking at as a way to really give access to people to those lamps. So this is how it started a little bit. So those agents, as Chika described before, are not Search Express employees. So they're interested in selling the lamps because, and it's something that I really want to mention that maybe we didn't mention before, but those agents also are clients, and they bought a lamp and they have been using the lamp at home, and they're convinced that it's a product that the people need. And so because they know the benefits of the lamp, so they're really good sellers. And this is very important because we really wanted, like Search Express really wanted those people to people who have been using the lamp and believe in that product. So they want to sell the lamps, but we're talking about small business owners. We're talking about people who've been selling a few things on the streets. So obviously they do not have the resources to be able to buy a couple of products. So this is where the consignment model came in. And it was completely new. Nobody's done it in Haiti. Okay, we had this idea of consignment, but obviously we have to put it together. So this is where I came in, and Nikki came in, and the whole team came in, where we had to discuss, how to put that together. And so basically, this is the consignment model. Is agent have it, not? I mean, there is a criteria and a selection process. So. I mean, many criteria. I can go into details or later if you have any question. But basically, they are selected on certain criteria and then enrolled into a system where they can access consignment, which means that they can access a few solar lanterns. The amount differs depending on the profile of the agent and the business and other criteria. And so they get those lamps and they sell it and then come back and repay Search Express. And they sell it at the retail price, but they repay Search Express at a lower price so they can make a significant margin. And this is where they make their own profit. So this is kind of a win situation for agents who believe in the product but just do not have the resources to get it. And why consignment for Search Express and not a loan or any other business model that we've seen in India or other countries? It's just because Search Express is a money transfer company, and they're not like an MFI, so they didn't have any system in place to be able to give loans. So this was another way for Search Express to be able to do that without having to involve MFI or a bank and be able to do that directly with their clients.
Just to get a better picture, you said the energy product, like the price ranged, but can you give some idea of?
Of course. So it really goes from $10 US to 35 or 40 US dollar. It doesn't usually exceed $35, and this was really a result of also the market research, which was very important in this at the beginning of the project. It's just we realized that otherwise it's way too much for people to be able to purchase those lamps.
And agents can take how many lamps?
So we started with 3 for really small agents. But then, because the model kind of evolved and we started looking at small retailers, so it went from 3 to 10 to 20. Sometimes I was a bit surprised to discover that some big retailers were getting 30, 35 lamps. So, but basically, we started with small because it was really new. But the plan is really to just, it depends on the profile of the agent and their business.
And one more. How many agents do they
Yes,
have right now?
so that program was launched maybe a year and a half ago, or a year ago. So Search Express has enrolled nearly 1,000 agents. Mean that not all the 1,000 are active every day, every month, but they are enrolled in the system. Some of them sell on consignments. Some of them even sometimes sell cash sale when they have the cash in hand. But they do have access to consignment if needed. And they've sold, I believe, between the cash and the consignment agents, like in total, more than 15,000 lamps. And I think what's interesting in Haiti, which is a little bit different when we're talking about the general numbers of all the projects, is that approximately 70% of the sales now are done through agents and 30% through their actual stores. So I think this is why it's very important for Search Express to really, straighten this model and take care of their agents, basically. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about what kind of investments or efforts that Soji has made for last 2 years or so?
Of course. So I think one of the biggest investment really at the beginning is the IT. So as I said, it's not an MFI. Search Express didn't have a proper MIS system to be able to track all this information relating to agents. So it's something that we don't necessarily think about, but yes, we need to track, like enroll agents, track how many units they sold, and all this data then, goes into reportings that then help Search Express and help us as well analyze and probably shift the model if needed based on the results. So the IT was a big component as well, a big challenge, because they had their own system, and we needed to add those new modules and to be able to integrate this new module into at all the store level as well. So 60 stores, sometimes in remote areas. Then you have to train the staff to be able to use this new application. So already this is a huge commitment in terms of time. So one of the big challenges is we had to wait until this was ready before enrolling agents. But Search Express they were so excited, and they really they didn't want to lose the momentum. So they started enrolling agents before the system was actually completely finalized, which is a bit of a problem for me to then get the data and be able to kind of analyze that. But this was a big challenge. And then obviously the second big component, I think, is really capacity building and training. So this was training of the staff, and then you have training of the agent, which is we've seen it also, I think, in yesterday's presentation, like the impact, like the relationship between training and sales. And I think it's really important to be able to communicate with his agents. And what we have to keep in mind is we start a year and a half ago with 3 products. And then obviously the product changes. So you add products, some product, change from lead acid to lithium battery. The pricing can change, which was the case in Haiti with the current currency devaluation the last year. So there are things that change in because of external factor, but also within the program we shift a little bit to adjust. And then you need, of course, ongoing training. And so this is, I think, very important, is you cannot just give training once and then just leave the agent. You have to always keep this relationship. And this is why Search Express, between the stores and the agent in the field, they have what they call démarcheur in French, which is basically an agent manager, whose main role is to go visit the agent. And I think this is crucial because they need support. And so they go visit the agent, make sure that they don't need extra product, make sure that they're aware of, remind them of certain features of the product, remind them of warranty. And I can talk about warranty as well,
Sure.
which is a challenge.
Yeah. Okay, great, thanks. So let's, we'll come back to you, but let's go to Shrey. And so you've heard a few times the name of DCBS throughout the day. Some people have mentioned. So if Shrey, you can
Sure.
talk about who they are and how they did with agent
Sure.
model.
Well, we have heard about DCBS quite a few times, in fact, in the morning sessions. So I'll give a very quick overview of who as an organization they are. So DCBS, they are our smallest NGO MFI partners, and by the virtue of being the smallest, they're the most exciting ones. Uh, so, I mean, just a quick background. So I started working with Nikki Seifel back in 2011-12, and one of the first organizations that Seifel asked me to work with was DCBS. So when I went with the CEO of the organization, Animesh, to the field, they were selling around 26 lights back then. So we met him and we tried to understand what some of the challenges were. And we realized quickly that good suppliers are not coming to him yet. So the first thing that Seifel and I tried to work out for him was get a good supplier. And get the margins that a Bandhan or any of the large MFIs were getting. As soon as we did that, Animesh told us that he'll do whatever we tell him to do. It's been 5 years and he's still doing that. But as an organization, it's a very small organization. It's based out of Eastern India, very close to Calcutta. They have a client base of close to 12,000. They saturated their client base completely. So as an organization, they started in 2003. And then the Andhra crisis came in. They really went down. They looked at energy as an alternative to actually pull them back. And Animesh till date actually credits clean energy operations or energy financing as the reason as to why they are back on their feet as an MFI. But they are also the one organization that all our partners have had an opportunity to learn from, including Bandhan, including Saija, Sarla, everyone. So everyone has visited Animesh and his operations, has seen how they work and understood as to how they can grow and scale up at the pace they are at. One of the things that Nikki said in the morning is they are the organization that have solarized their entire client base. So 100% of their clients actually have solar. So as soon as they did that, they were trying to identify mechanisms to be able to expand a little bit further. One of the obvious things that came up was identifying new branch locations. So they opened up 4 branch locations. But they very quickly realized that it's really cost intensive to open up all these branches when there is not enough traction going on in those branches, and there is an incubation period of close to a year with a lot of these branches. At the same time, a very interesting thing was happening. A lot of the clients that had taken solar had repaid some of their loans, and they were taking additional solar lights. As soon as that was happening, we went back to the field to understand what's the scenario. So we saw that there were these women who had repaid the cost of a single light, but they were purchasing additional lights for their relatives who are not a part of the MFI network, but they are extended family. As soon as Animesh actually saw that and DCBS, they saw that, they decided to start an agent model. And they started very small. An organization, as small as his, they started with 24 agents. And they told them that we are formalizing this relationship. We will give you a margin. You don't need to take these lights on loan from us. We will give you a percentage of the profit that we make while we are selling this light. You can take it and sell it to people. As soon as that happened, we actually tracked some really good numbers. As a tiny organization, they have been able to sell more than 5,000 lights. That's actually 17,000 overall that he's sold, which is way beyond his capacity. And as we talk and we speak, his capacity to scale up this agent model is increasing. He's pretty much thinking about it every day, tweaking the business model as we talk about it, and he's scaling up. So.
Yeah. So great. So Shrey, can you maybe talk a little bit about the financing side of this agent model? I understand that they've tried a few models.
Right. So one of the first things that DCBS did was it identified, so basically some of the agents were identifying non-clients for them who would be getting the benefit of a solar light. They decided that if the non-clients are being identified by the network of agents that we have, then we can also extend an informal loan to them. So that was the first model that they tried, and they failed miserably at it, because when it is a non-client, you don't have any control over whether the client is paying back money or not. And a lot of times, the relationship with the agent would actually go beyond repair, because what was happening is that they would have extended to their family. So they could not even push the family to give the money back. So the first two models that Chika pointed out are basically what they are doing at this point of time. Essentially, if it is an agent who has the capacity to take 50 lights at a go, then a little bit of the cost for these lights is actually parked by the agent with Animesh, and then he gives them extended credit to be able to pay back. Now this credit becomes very critical, because when we talk about the product company, there's a 45-day credit cycle. So any product company which supplies to Animesh actually gives them 45 days to repay the money. After that, they start charging an interest, which eats into the margin significantly. So he gives his agents the 30-day credit period to be able to manage the payment cycles. Because of doing that, he actually has close to 180 agents now. And the model is still evolving. I mean, before coming here, we visited him, and he's talking about green managers. I mean, very similar to what Yara highlighted. So basically, some agent who has done well now gets to go up the ladder. They can have multiple agents under them while they benefit from cross-selling in some other villages, some new villages, as they're doing that. So that's the model that he has right now. One of the other tweaks in the model that he did is that he decided the criteria for who is going to become an agent. It's not as if anybody in the first loan cycle has decided to come to these guys and become an agent. He doesn't actually take them up as an agent. People who have completed at least 2 or 3 loan cycles are eligible to become agents if they have repaid on time, if there are no arrears that they have. So these are the people that he actually picks up as a part of his agent network.
Great. So I've shown these diagrams, 3 diagrams, and I was looking them this morning again, and then, I mean, I've been looking at it many times, but then it came to me, especially today, that if you look at these 3, we have some explanations on the left side. So it's all about. So these 3 models. The difference between these 3 models are about arrangement between institution and agents, right? So how often they have to pay, how much they have to pay, how long they can delay the payment. But and this this relationship between agents and customers looks so simple. It's sell and pay. But I think in the market research, we've found that there's a lot of things going on between this agent and customers, and it's complicated, and it's not straightforward, and that actually affects the whole model. So Guada, do you want to?
Yes.
Go into that.
Okay, so this panel is pretty much talking about our end users, because the agents we're talking about were once they were end users themselves. And I will try to highlight some of the insights that we got through market research and things that kind of best practices and how these institutions have shed light to so many things for us. One of them, for example, which is very important, is the business models that we thought in the beginning as theoretical models had nothing to do pretty much to what we found in the field. And why? Pretty much the business models were adopted originally, and then they have been pivoting and changing. Why? Pretty much because of two things. One of them is the external environment, very easy to understand in the case of Haiti, for example. When we talk about a country where it has constant evaluations, even political processes affect the whole market, or natural catastrophes, or then this has an impact, a direct impact on sales. And there's another one, which is another reason for these models changing a lot, is institutions, these financial institutions, are trying to adapt the model to better respond to the end customer's needs. So, for example, if the consignment model was planned originally to, I give you the product and then you have like 3 to 5 days to sell and then bring the money back to me, Surge Express, what they found is that that was simply not possible. That would have meant pretty much only cash sales. And in Haiti, as in India, everybody is buying on installments, even to eat. So a solar lamp, of course, it has to be, I mean, even more because it's a little bit, I mean, it's more expensive and it's something that is not such a running product as opposed to food or small items. So, yeah, the business models pivoted all along and they are still pivoting. Another highlight that I would like to mention is the importance of this support that the financial institution needs to provide to the agent. And in other words, financing agents requires consciousness by the financing institution and requires time and resources. The unintentional consequences of doing it badly creates burdens on the agents, on the end customer, and even can run the risk of impoverishing them. And that's exactly what we don't want to do. So some of the things that we have realized that it is very important for the institution to provide to the agents, which parentheses, we are talking about end users also, and their income levels, we can segment them like in three income brackets, and it's less than $75 monthly, talking about the average household income, $75 to $120, and in between $120 to $180. So we're talking about really low-income people. So talking about the support of the institution to the agents, one of them that becomes really important is provide a wholesale price. It's not just about giving financing to the agents, but also it's about understanding that they are there selling the lamps because they want to get a profit, as simple as that. So if there's not a lot of brains into understanding the margin that they need to have, also in terms of the number of lamps that they can be selling, let's say per week, sometimes per day, sometimes per month, sometimes it's seasonal. It depends also income, you know, the frequency in which people are being paid. So, yeah. Another very important one is managing challenges, including client credit arrears, like provide support to the agent. After sales service, the agents are selling the lamps precisely because initially, and Yara can explain a little bit more about that, initially adopting the guarantee selling pitch was not easy at all because, as Nikki was saying this morning, this was kind of the first time, I remember in the first sessions like 4 years ago, people didn't even have heard about what a guarantee was, okay, ever in their lives. So that was kind of our first market research. And then now, I mean, later throughout time, the warranty became the selling pitch because this is the only product that we are getting replaced if it's broken, okay? So if the institution is not providing good after-sales service, the honor of the agent is broken, you know? So it's really important.
And can I just
Please.
add something on that? As Guadalupe was saying, I mean, the concept of the warranty, and Nikki was saying that as well, I mean, wasn't there in Haiti at all when we started. And even if people said, yes, there is a warranty, and they would tell clients, there is a warranty, then you would ask, okay, so what happens after if I have a problem with the product? That I don't know. You know, like, so there's not only the concept of warranty, there's then a process that had, you know, to be in place and implemented, and we have to train the agent to know what to do exactly if this and this happened. And what Guadalupe is saying is, especially in Haiti, with increasing competition in Port-au-Prince, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when I went there first, there were barely no solar lanterns, you know, in Port-au-Prince. Now there are, you know, couple different companies, and so with increasing competition, and especially with kind of bad products coming into the market, the agents are using, as you were saying, the argument of the warranty to sell, because some people are saying, why your lamp, it's $5 more expensive than the neighbor? And now their speech changed completely, and the agent tell the client, because no, but they don't offer warranty. We offer 1-year warranty, you know, and so it's incredible how it really evolved, and this is why also the inputs of the different market research and the phone survey that we've done annually, it really helped us with Soja Express to redesign the business model, like to think about, okay, what's needed. And we saw that there was a training needed on the warranty, and we designed it and we did it. So
Precisely, I was going to say the other thing is training, and specifically in the case of Haiti, it was so interesting that agents were demanding training specifically on the comparative advantage of the brand that I am selling as opposed to the brand that the others are selling. So talking about training, it's not just any type of training. It really has to be tailored according to the end. And the last thing I want to say about
do you have questions?
this, please.
Around the warranty issue, because I know it's come up with some cook stove producers where they've sold this idea of a warranty, but actually, in reality, when someone said, "Oh, look, there's something wrong with my cook stove," they would say, "Oh, no, it's not under warranty because you did X, Y, Z." And I was wondering if you all had any of those further experiences because of that. I mean, the warranty is great, but if there's a perception that you really can't use it, and I just quickly, since you were on that topic.
yeah, I mean, maybe you guys can add
Maybe,
more. Yeah.
So, in case of MFIs, I mean, supporting agents, the same sort of sales methods apply, right? So what happens is that a product company is always going to extend the same benefits that it offers the MFI in case of agents also. So that's why this particular thing has never been a challenge in case of DCBAs and a lot of other Indian sort of MFI agent networks that we have. But in case of Cookstove, I mean, since it is Cookstove that we are also talking about, one of our partners, Mahashakti Foundation, which is based out of the KBK region that Mr. Amin was pointing out, they did face issues, but this was not with the agent model. They did face issues because of the product warranty was void. I mean, because of usage and all that. So.
I remember though in India, in the case of, so if it's within warranty, the story is simple. It's honored, it's processed. Sometimes they take time, but it's eventually addressed. What happened was, if it's out of warranty, after warranty period, and then the institution can arrange the repair at cost, and then the agent in the middle ended up paying for customer and asking customer later, like, "Oh, by the way, it took this much," and then customer says, "Well, I'm not going to pay." So that kind of agent is always in the middle.
Yes.
So that gives a difficulty to them. Yeah.
So in other words, the institution cannot offload. And what I mean by that is precisely the importance of this training, that we will talk about that later more in detail, and the importance of treating them more as employees. And this is really important because the profit that they are earning in general is very much related to their own ability, to their own skills, unless they do have a strong support, as we have the case in DCBS, where, for example, the ladies, the agents, had all certainty that they were going to receive 200 rupees per lamp sold, more or less. So they knew that whether they got the 100 rupees at the beginning and 100 at the end or 200 at the beginning, it really didn't matter at all as long as they knew that they were going to get this money. So, yes, so I would leave it
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
to here.
sure, sure. Yeah, so let's, well, I think we can talk, I mean, if, in any case, once we start talking about challenges, it kind of becomes endless discussion. But before we go into that part, I wanted to ask, what would you say that these organizations did very well about managing or growing agents? I hope you can come up with
yeah.
some answers.
I mean, in the case of Search Express, I think the number one thing is their flexibility, their willingness to adapt to the context, take into consideration external factors. So I think this is very important because I don't think we talk about it enough, but it's important that the relationship we also have with them to be able to cope with certain challenges on the spot. And also with the agent, I think because they're in the field and because they have staff, because of their distribution network and because of their business, because they're in the remittance business, they already have clients who are from the really poor, low income, come from low income households, and so they know their market, and because of that, they were able to adapt the model to people's needs, listen to their needs. So they could even do it better. But I think that that this is very important. Is really the feedback coming up. And so, for example, in the case of agents, just the fact that they were able to see a potential in small retailers that we didn't think about at the beginning. Now they're telling me lately they're telling me actually there's so many of our Western Union sub agents that want to sell the lamps as well. So it's just a question of listening and taking this information and trying to see, okay, what can we do to expand, and things that they didn't they didn't have in mind when they started. So I think this is really important for the success of, because it's a pilot, so they never did that before. So of course there are many problems, but it's to see that success, taking into consideration all the challenges, I think is incredible.
I would like to add that something in Haiti that was fantastic was in terms of the flexibility, how they were very clear and flexible in terms of identifying the profile of the agent. Originally, it was very small and sellers who had not many different products on sale. Then they ended up working with those agents who had a lot of products on sale, which made it easier for them to sell solar lamps. Why? Because the solar, and not only made it easier, but it was for Solar Express, but it was also fantastic for these people because they added a product into their own basket of products, and they added diversity. And they became kind of different to other people selling on the street, because not everybody was selling solar. And for these people, it was not only an additional income-generating activity, but it also became one of the main income-generating activities. So that is actually very important, I think.
One of the things, in case of DCBS, that has worked really well. If you look at that as an organization, it's a very small organization. It's an NGO that essentially became a financial institution. So its DNA is ingrained in a way that it has to support the community that it's working with. So the business model, we call it a very agent-centric business model. They like to share as much profits as they can with the agents. That's one of the key aspects. So when we are talking about agents, for them, it's no longer a secondary income source. A lot of them are graduating to an extent where they look at this as a full-time option for them. They can make enough money to actually scale it up in a way that it's quicker, it is faster. They provide marketing support they specifically design marketing campaigns that actually go into the field and tell people that if you buy this light, there's a discount on the next light and all of that. That's all designed by DCBS. Then the third thing that these guys do is that, of course, the training support part that we have been talking about, that's always there. But in terms of recollection, so one of the things, if an agent has extended a credit to a non-client, the loan officer who goes into the field for a meeting, he also ends up pushing them a little bit in case there is non-repayment. And this is a mutual relationship that the organization has with the agent. The agent generally says that there is a little bit of challenge for the money to come back from this particular institute. Now, the advantage in this loan officer actually pushing them to clear up their payments is because everybody wants to become a part of that organization later to be able to borrow larger amounts of money and all that for micro enterprise loans. So it's a very symbiotic relationship when it comes to DCBS. The other critical piece, I mean, in case of DCBS has been the slow and steady pace. I mean, they did not hurry into it. Saiful and I had to spend days and nights sitting there trying to work the business model. And they would do, like, for example, if we were sitting in a hotel discussing this with Animesh, who's the CEO, the next day in the morning, he'll come back and say it's implemented before even we would give him a go ahead. So the thing was that we kept on tweaking that business model. So that pace has also helped us. I mean, he did not rush into it. The success that we are seeing right now, we have had to work for that for a year and a half to get to that point.
Yeah.
An insight at this point, which I really believe is important, precisely from DCBS we got this, and then it was confirmed throughout other market research, is the loyalty of agents vis-a-vis the institution. And the loyalty is something that is not created just like that, even though we were saying in the morning that the majority of the microfinance clients have been there for many years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But when we're talking about agents, we're talking about people who are kind of in the middle. And if things are not done correctly, the person who ends up losing is the agent. Because why? If there is not, and then of course this can erode loyalty, okay? So something that we find very important is that to adjust the payment deadlines of the agents with the institution to the payment patterns from their customers. In other words, usually there is a gap in between the agent having to pay to the institution for the lamps, even if he had not sold, and the payment patterns from customers. And usually customers who are paying in installments, on average, they will take 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, but usually not the 7 days or 30 days that the theoretical model sets, right, or has fixed. So in DCBS, for example, they were being such an agent-centric institution, they had the ears to listen and to actually expand these payment periods for the agent. So, of course, the agent is not feeling all the time like this, right? Which we have seen that sometimes they run into the situation where they have to pay from their own pocket money. So that's another very important insight. Agents definitely don't like a model or a situation where they have to end up paying from their own pocket. So most important is to have this communication in between agent and institution.
Yes. To follow up or to add on to that, we have seen other institutions doing the agent models, and sometimes the model is not working because they said, okay, they told agents, please pay back after 30 days. But agent doesn't get all they cannot collect all the money in 30 days. So what they do is they just don't pay. And they wait until they get money back from customers. Whereas the institution was expecting that if they don't get money from customers in time, these agents will take some money out of their own pockets, and should pay back to the institution. But simply, these agents don't have that kind of financial capacities. So that was one of the kind of myths that we found that found out through going out into the field and talking to agents, I guess. And also the communication. I think DCBS is really a very great case that the clients already had strong loyalty to the institution. But what made or built that loyalty was, I think, the frequent and clear communication. And even though they pivoted the models like again and again and sometimes very frequently, but what they did very well was to communicate those changes to the agents. They've had meetings, they invite these women to the branch office as almost like a colleagues,
Yeah.
rather than just telling them that, okay, this is now you have to do this, go and do.
And in the case again of DCBS, and when we were saying about it's not only about financing, it's also about thinking about so many things. For example, in the case of DCBS, and when I am talking about how an institution can support the agents, I'm talking even from the from the starting process, from product delivery to money collection, payments, and all these. For example, DCBS is a very nice example. Even though the theoretical model changed, and what was happening in the field, in the ground, was completely different. It was a bit of this, sometimes it was more cash sales, sometimes it was more loan sales. The point is that the agents were pretty much all the time felt the support and that they were being backed up by an institution, because it was the loan officers who were taking the solar lamps to the house of the agent, okay? What does that mean? That not only it's support, that means money, because then you don't have to pay for transportation. You don't have to take time out of your sewing and embroidery at night or whatever, or you're less tired. In other words, you have stock at home, which the institution gave to you.
Yeah, and one quick point to add to what Chika and Guada have said here. Irrespective of the number of tweaks that DCBS did to the business model, they were simplifying it at each step. And the one critical part also is that they did not reduce the profit that they were sharing with the end agents at any given point of time. The number of forms which were used initially, they were reduced, and it's just been tweaking to improve the model further instead of cutting down the margin that you're sharing.
Okay, do you have any questions, or yes?
I have one question, which is really to ask Guada to tell us a little bit about the marketing tactics, which were so different between the institutions and so related to cultural issues, and they were kind of fun. So maybe you can talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually going to start with that topic, but it's completely changing. We found that, precisely because we're talking about very different cultures and different continents, everything, right? And for example, in terms of marketing techniques and the way that people were selling in Haiti as compared to India. So what we found in Haiti is that asking to the agents, where, by the way, agents were women and men. I mean, it was not more men than women. It was kind of,
yes.
what would you say is the ratio?
Yes, I would say have maybe a little bit more men, just because we were targeting people who were selling electronics
Right.
at the beginning, but
in India, the agents are women, okay? So, so we were asking, how do you sell? First of all, in Haiti, people are walking, women and men are walking all day long in the street. In India, women prefer definitely to sell from home, so they prefer to have some stock and all that. Then, talking about the sophisticated techniques from people in Haiti, and asking do you have any preference with regards to customers? And they say, well, no, really, I will sell to anybody. Old people, young people, children, women, men. Yeah, but do you have anyone that you prefer the most? And then, after a while of talking and talking and talking, then they end up saying, well, yeah, I do prefer to sell to men. And why? Well, because I can charm them. And then you have the women, going like this. And so how do you do? And then you have these women really telling you how they do. And also, you ask the same question to men. And men are saying that sometimes they prefer to sell to women, also because they can charm, but also because it's the woman who is holding the household money. Which also breaks some type of myths, because we usually tend to believe that it's the man who has the money because it's the man who's bringing the money to the house. Which in the case of Haiti is not like that. I mean, it could be, there's such a variety of types of houses and households and all this, right? People were posting in Facebook. People had their mobiles and they had the pictures of the lamps. Fantastic things. For example, even if they already had some grid access in their neighborhood, what they did is that they took the lights to a very obscure neighborhood and they sat down. And, I can perfectly imagine the woman and displayed some solar lamps, and then of course people came in and asked precisely. The night itself was the way for them to sell, no? Something that I find super important in terms of India is the support of husband support to sell. In the case of DCBS, it was an opportunity cost not to do that, not to support the wife. Why? If the husband sees that the wife is really getting additional income from the sales, then the husband not only will support, he will actually go and collect payments that the woman will not do because she has to stay more time at home because either she's taking care of children, she's cooking, or she's doing embroidery. As opposed to institutions where there was not this profit, husbands were really reluctant and kind of had mixed feelings. Yeah, we have additional income in the house, but it's not worth the amount of time that she has to invest.
Any questions? Other questions? Yep.
Thank you to all for interesting insights and case studies. I have a question on what follows after this, which is when the lanterns break down after the warranty period, if there's any form of repair or any way of doing that, whether these agents can play a role or should play a role, and similarly on the recycling aspect, because we're trying to solve the last mile distribution aspects through these agents, but with recycling we have a first mile issue where again we could actually try and get these agents to play a role. So just your insights in terms of whether that's been tried before or researched. Thank you.
Yeah, so in case of DCBS, they do actually train some of the agents to be able to take on the role of repairing, because they look at it as an additional source of income after 2 years, because it's a one-time sale, so you're making a money at that one go. But eventually when there are lots of lights in the market, just making sure that there are people out there who can repair it. And so the warranty is 2 years, but they say that the battery life is going to last for 5 years at least. So for 5 years, there should be somebody out there who's able to take care of these systems. So it's a very nice way of how they're doing it. In terms of recycling, I mean, that's something that ARC Finance has been talking to a lot of the product companies to figure out a way to be able to manage that efficiently, because at the end of 5 years, agents, of course, but even loan officers in a lot of cases where there is a direct loan going out, there could be a system to be able to recollect some of these, the way Nokia has done, or many of these guys have done in rural India. So that's something that we are still trying to figure out, but yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah. I asked him because he had a question before.
So this might come up with the challenges, and so I hope I'm not jumping the gun here, but I know that in Haiti, Yara, you mentioned that it was the people who were selling airtime that were selected as agents. These are airtime, they're selling airtime, but are they selling it for Soji Express or somebody else?
Yeah, good question. So Soji Express had at the time a partnership with Digicel, the telecom company, and so they were selling mobile phone for them as well as airtime. So it was the same situation where those agents were not employees of any of those two companies, but were selling airtimes for them. So basically for Soji Express.
Okay, so in terms of default rates, what sort of default rates did you expect, or were they very low? Because the thing is that if they don't pay, then two sources of income dry up for them.
Yeah, so for airtime, I mean, for airtime, it was really cash. They weren't given any consignment for the airtime, so it was really a cash transaction. When we started looking at consignment, so consignment model, as Chika explained, I mean, if they don't sell, they can bring the product back. What happens a lot is that actually, so there was actually default or like late payment. In many cases, it's late payment because, to be honest, and I think what Guadalupe can confirm is there's no default. People usually sell and really expect to repay. It's just a matter of the time it takes. So in the consignment model and for those agents, and something that we realized is that we thought they would be selling cash to their clients. We didn't think that they would themselves offer credit to their own clients. And so we were wondering why it took sometimes so much time for them to repay. And we realized it was because of that. So they do repay, but it's just that sometimes it takes too much time. So this is why we're trying to put together another training that has to do with managing credit and managing this situation that we didn't think about before, just to help them manage that.
Just to clarify, so they were selling but not collecting
Yes.
in time.
Exactly. Yes. They were selling, and sometimes they were, because they were selling to people who live in the province. So they would say, okay, give me $5 now, and then when I go back to that province, I'll come back, take the other. And sometimes it took them 1 month to go back. Or sometimes it's just that people didn't have the money and we're telling, I'll pay you back. So there was not like a set.
It was precisely in Soji Express where the gap in between these payment patterns from customers and the deadline with Soji Express was where we find that it was creating a problem to agents. And they solved it after this market research in several ways. They cannot extend the time because then they are really changing procedures. But what they did is related also to pricing. If they had, at the moment that they were able to ensure a larger margin per lamp sold for agents. So even if they still had to commit to the deadline to pay to Soji Express, at least they were having a little bit more income. And this was not harming at all Soji Express because they were able to do this negotiation with the product manufacturers. So this margin was able, came out from the manufacturers.
Chika, can I just add a point about
Yes.
this? One of the things to sort of make clear to everyone is that this notion of 72 hours to pay or return the product was something that we created with Soji Express to mitigate risks for them. So they were concerned that they didn't want the products out too long with the agents because they weren't sure that they would repay. So we came up with them, as we were inventing this model, the notion of 72 hours. What became very interesting in the real life experience with the agents was because of unemployment in Haiti, the lack of cash flow, devaluation, all the other factors that are going on in Haiti, that 72 hours didn't actually match the ability of agents to recoup from their clients. So what happened was that the consignment model kind of morphed into a trade finance model. And it's still in process. The thing that's so interesting in Haiti is they do repay, but just in a kind of traumatically long period of time if you're expecting it to be 72 hours. So, the model then needs to shift to accommodate if you really want to target that client base and you don't want to offer loans, you don't want to offer it in a kind of formalized way, you need to adapt the business model to be able to accommodate the cash flow of the people who are actually paying at the end,
Yes.
who are the end clients.
Yeah, and also this, just to add up a little bit on that, is definitely looking at, this morning precisely, Nikki, she was looking at from the point of view of the institution and of the end user. In this case, it's the agents. I think that one of the learning curves that has really gone like high for us is, if we look at from the perspective of the institution, the financing institution, precisely to mitigate risk, to ensure that there's going to be profits and all that, excellent. But throughout market research and all this, we have realized that it is until you really ensure that the agents are profiting as well, when you can reduce and mitigate the financial institution's risk as well. In other words, what I want to say is that it's not only about financing, it is really about taking care of agents almost as if they were employees, and if that happens, then this relationship becomes mutually beneficial. For agents, because they are earning money, they have more social relationships, networks. They are being recognized in India. It was lovely. Somebody said, I am so happy because I am now being recognized as a light-selling lady, no? Like, I go into the village. Or in Haiti, women that were really not old at all, but that were widowed or something like that, they felt useful again, that they did not have to ask, money from their family, whatever. And what is the benefit for the institution? Definitely, it has outreach. It can use the networks of the end users, like the very private networks that the agents have, and also they provide very important information that otherwise the institution wouldn't have, such as specific payment patterns or seasonalities or consumer, pain points that we were talking in the earlier panel. So, it has to work for both.
Yes,
Taking from the same Guadalupe what you is there any process in which we can institutionalize this? Because going just beyond the commission agents, giving some status in the institution itself, that is number one. And number two, if at all the status changes, not to the staff, but not purely like a commission agent, if the status changes, is it going to affect the sales? What do you feel about that?
Talking about formalization, sometimes, I think that the example of DCBS, where this centric approach, community-based, community meaning really considering, taking advantage of the loyalty that the agents already have to the institution and really taking care of that in a really, careful way, is very important. Also, the profit sharing is super important, because if the
I would like to know about there is any career planning. Can we think of in that line?
yes,
Apart from only profit sharing or commission, can we think that these are the older agents, they get additional benefits kind of thing, and the new entrants maybe only commission agents? So can we think in that line?
So we designed the exact same thing with DCBS. The current model that they're using, the older agents who have been able to sell anywhere in the range of 300 to 500 are being considered green managers. So they now have the capacity to be able to recruit other agents who form a part of this network of agents. Now the advantage is that what Gwada was also pointing out, if it is a woman who is actually selling in one village or maximum 2 villages, now they are able to expand the horizon to relatives who are living in 4 or 5 villages. Now they all get to contribute. Now these 4 or 5 villages may not necessarily be a part of DCBS's client network. So it's an opportunity for DCBS also to eventually expand its client base. Having said that, I do personally feel, because I've also worked very closely with Adhikar, that Adhikar has the kind of loyalty that DCBS had from its clients. In case of Adhikar also, what I've seen in the field is that people have purchased lights from you despite having one light from somebody else, because they love what the organization has done from them. So in that context, I mean, it's also very ideally suited to be started at Adhikar.
And just, I think this notion of formalizing it is absolutely right. You know, I think at the moment, what we're doing is we're sort of working out what are the elements that need to be formalized. And we're at a very interesting point, but this is, you know, energy lending 301. You know, if we've done 101 and we've done 201, we're now in a new experimental phase, which really looks at agents extending to non-clients, how you manage risk in those contexts, how you manage arrears at all levels. You know, those kinds of things do require a little bit more experimentation, but do also require formalization.
I would like to add something about this, which is, I totally agree with you. It's not only about profits. Definitely, I would say it might be the most important, because they are there for the money, to add money to the household. Also for social recognition, definitely there is some type of empowerment and all this. But I would say that a very important support from the institution has to do, I already say communication, but to be more specific, has to do with the way in which the energy program is structured. In other words, if processes are clear, really clear, and timelines are clear, say the product will arrive home, I believe in the institution, it's trustworthy, it's such a virtuous circle. We've seen institutions where that is not happening, and simply DDs, you know, the agents drop out, they go. So looking at what works best is creating certainty. It's a framework where the things are very clear, very simple, and then they get profit.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, kind of building upon what you were saying, Guadalupe, I was interested in like retention for the sales agents, both in Haiti and in India. How many of those sales agents are still currently functioning? Do you see a pattern? Is there a specific tenure? And yeah.
There is a pattern, yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the numbers. I know that we have, I mean, that Certifest has close to 1,000 agents, but, you know, some months they have 100 active, some months 200, some months 50. It really depends. But I can tell you, for example, the small things that make them stop selling for a bit could be that the product, the availability of the product. So, you know, there's product manufacturers waiting for a shipment of product, and it takes 2 months, and the agent can't find the product, and they only want to sell that one. So that also can explain why they stop for a while. It could also be because of personal reason. It could be because they had bad experience with one client that didn't repay, and they had to pay from their pocket. So there are cases where you see agents who stop selling, but all those that I've seen, and some of them actually I've talked to with Guadalupe, and they at that time had stopped selling for a bit. It wasn't like they loved selling the lamp, and they said that as long as Surge Express will offer me consignment, I'll continue selling. So, and Haiti is so, I mean, everything changes from one day to another. So I think the economic situation also has a huge impact on the agents. So.
In case of DCBS also, there's hardly anybody who's dropped off. And the reason is, as I said, I mean, they went very slow and steady. When you have 24 agents, then 36, then 40, what happens is that you get to spend time with all the agents and understand some of the issues that they're facing, the reason as to why they're not able to sell more, the reason they need training to be able to do that better. So because of that, I mean, it has progressed pretty slowly, but now it's close to 180 and hardly anybody has dropped off.
I was just going to talk about training now. One very interesting insight that we got from Haiti. We know that all the agents are being trained before they start selling. That is a fact. I mean, that's something that was defined from the very beginning of the program and all that. And then we go into our research, and everybody's saying that we did not get any training. We didn't get any training. So suddenly, I said, well, what do you mean? Well, yeah, I mean, you know, they were just explaining to me in 15 minutes that the benefits of the light, and did you get the information? Of course I got the information, but I was expecting to be invited to a room like this and sit down and listen to somebody for 2 hours. And then I say, bingo. Okay, so next time, of course we didn't say anything. So then, while analyzing and all that, realized that the only thing that Soch Express needed to say is those 15 minutes are training as such. You don't need more, because when we started, say in 2012 or 13, where we started doing this, the people themselves were saying 2-hour training is too long, and we don't need that. We can go faster. Talking about the solar lamps, okay? So, we can talk about benefits, or we can do that every 3 months or whatever, but not full day for us for that, because these people are all the time on the streets. So, it was just a matter of fine-tuning that, yes, you are getting training, and this 15, 20 minutes is enough. If you want something else, it will be given. So it's just a matter of perception, okay?
Okay, so any other questions? I guess we are. Okay, so we have a video that we made during REMP about agents. So as part of transition to the next session, I guess we'll play, and that will be the end of this session on agents. This.
From the outside,
Yeah.
their villages seem like typical impoverished communities, but they are incubating an extraordinary solution to the lack of reliable, safe, and affordable clean energy.
Wait. Sorry.
This is the story of 3 women from villages in Bihar. From the outside, their villages seem like typical impoverished communities, but they are incubating an extraordinary solution to the lack of reliable, safe, and affordable clean energy. In Bihar, India, electrification rates are the lowest in the nation, with household access rates below 16% and female unemployment at 24%. To address these challenges, the Basic Social Enterprise Group, a consortium of companies that seeks to improve the livelihoods of poor people in India, developed a solar entrepreneur program. The goal of the initiative is to provide solar products to underserved populations to increase their income-generating capacity. In order to reach these customers, Basics has specifically encouraged women to become solar entrepreneurs. Basics provides its solar entrepreneurs with trade finance so that they can start solar retail and rental businesses. These dynamic women tell us about how their lives have been transformed by the financing and training that enabled them to be purveyors and purchasers of clean energy. For solar retail sales, Basics provides its entrepreneurs with extended credit terms. They get solar equipment to sell and have 30 days to pay it back. In turn, the entrepreneurs offer their customers an informal loan to purchase solar equipment, which includes a 1,500 rupee lantern or a 5,000 rupee solar home system. Customers pay back these loans through small installments.
सबसे पहले तो लोगों के साथ बैठने का मौका मिलता है, बात करते हैं, एसएचजी के माध्यम से इसको लाइट बेचते हैं और एसीजी में जाते हैं तो मीटिंग भी करवा लेते हैं, प्लस डेमो हमारे पास लाइट रहता है और वो लाइट दिखाते हैं, इसका मतलब खामियां दिखाते हैं, उसको खामियां बताते हैं, इस लाइट में ये खामियां है। ये हमारे घर के बच्चों को पढ़ने में सबसे पहले सुविधा होगी, जिससे आँख पे रोशनी नहीं, मतलब आँख का रोशनी उसका मतलब नहीं जाएगा।
हम ग्राहक को लाइट देते हैं तो ग्राहक से हम पूछते हैं, बात करते हैं वहाँ पर कि दीदी आप हम लाइट तो दी हैं लेकिन इसको आप किस किस तरह के उपयोग में लाते हैं। क्यों लोग देखते हैं कि मुर्गी फार्म में जाती है, लगा देती है, रात के मुर्गी बच्चा रहता है, छोटा बच्चा रहता है तो मर जाता है, तो अंधेरा में मैंने अंधेरा रहने से हम खुद से कस्टमर को अपने पास से देते हैं, अपने उनको ही जा कर के पहुँचाते हैं, पूछते रहते भी हैं उनको से कि लाइट आपको कैसा है, कैसा लगता है, चल रहा है या ना चल रहा है। इन लोग से अगर लिए हैं तो पूछती भी है और वैसा कोई दिक्कत होता है तो घर तक हमको सेवा मिल जाता है। अगर खरीदते थे तो कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं, कोई हमको पूछने तक नहीं आता था।
For solar lantern rentals, Basics provides a microfinance livelihoods loan, and the entrepreneur pays Basics back over time out of the rental fees she earns. After about 2 years, she owns the equipment outright, and her rental business becomes even more profitable.
इस गांव में हमारे 23 ग्राहक हैं, 5 रुपये पर डे देते हैं, 150 रुपये मंथली देते हैं। ऐसे भी लोग अब 23 लोग मेरे घर में आते हैं, जाते हैं, बातचीत अच्छा से रहता है। और लोग कभी कभी कुछ करते हैं शादी ब्याह तो फिर पूछते हैं कि और हमको लाइट चाहिए, उसको देते हैं। और ये लाइट जब से है तब से हम भी अपना घर, मैं पहले सरकारी स्कूल में पढ़ाती थी अपने बेटी को, अब प्राइवेट स्कूल में एडमिशन करवा दिए हैं तो अब पढ़ती है वहाँ।
Through the opportunities provided by Basics, these women entrepreneurs not only increase their own incomes, they also gain the confidence that comes with running a business. They build social capital, and they improve the lives of others in their communities. Basics has developed this solar initiative with support from REMP, the Renewable Energy Microfinance and Microenterprise Program. REMP is funded by USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, and implemented by ARC Finance.
Okay, thank you very much.